Thanks for joining us today on the Nurturist Pod, where we help nurture your path and unleash your passions. Welcome back to the Nurturist Pod. We got CJ Finley, founder and CEO of Thrive on Life podcast. And we're just stoked to have you here, man. How are you doing?
Here as well. Doing well. This is my second podcast of the day. So anytime that I get 2 in one day is a very good day for me. I love doing this.
Yeah. I love it, man. No, that was the tweet. You posted it, I think it was last week. You're like, dude, I love podcasting. And I think that's what made me reach out to you. So no, dude, that's great. How long have you been doing this? Because I went to your website and I started going through your podcast, dude. I couldn't even get to the end of it. I got down to 2019. I'm like, holy shit. Like, you've been doing this a long time.
I'm in the mid 200s. Literally the first one I think I ever released was in April of 2019, I believe. So going on 4 years this year.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just been a wild ride. And it's something that I honestly waited too long to start. I had a lot of people asking me to do it prior, and I would always make up certain excuses. And eventually I just pulled the trigger on a rooftop of Whole Foods with my cell phone and one of my best friends. We were just like, let's just record a podcast. And we did it on Anchor. And just from there, I just got hooked. I'm really interested in people's stories and very obsessed with getting free education out there and helping people learn and level up their life. So podcasting is a great modality for that.
No, I love it, dude. And that's honestly the exact reason I started the podcast. I know we were chatting a bit previously, just the purpose of Nurturist and what we're doing here. But yeah, I love talking with people. I love meeting new people, hearing their stories and hearing what type of insights they have through their experiences. And no, I'm just happy to have you here, man. I guess my biggest question with you, so you said you were on the Whole Foods parking lot with your buddy. What kind of inspired the idea in the first place, how to even get going?
Yeah. So if you're familiar with Austin, Texas, the original Whole Foods was created here, and there's a rooftop there above the actual restaurant, grocery store. You can go upstairs and eat and meet people, and there's kids running around. There's a little play area. So it's a good spot to just meet up and connect with people. So when I thought about actually where I'm going to produce the first podcast, for me, that was just a comfortable environment that I'd already been in. I didn't have a studio like I do now. Thought process behind starting anything really is a struggle for people. They don't know how to get started. And when you have friends or family or people that are trying to guide you and tell you like, oh, you should do this or you should try this, the first thing that we go to in our brain is like the fear of like why we can't do that or why we shouldn't do that, rather than what if it goes right? What if I do this thing and it feels great and I want to keep doing it? For me, when it came to the podcast and other areas of my life, when I hear things just too often, meaning you should do X, Y, Z, and I hear it from multiple people that have no relation to each other, that's when I start listening a little bit more and saying, oh, this person thinks I should try this thing. And then this other person thinks the same thing, and they're not related at all. And I don't mean relations as in like family. They're just not in the same friend group. They've never interacted with each other. And that's the thread that I typically go down, whether it's podcasting or YouTube or Instagram, or take it out of the social and media world and go into the fitness world or the entrepreneurial world. If I hear ideas and I hear things more than once from people that aren't in tandem and connected, that's when I like, all right, maybe I should probably do this.
Yeah, that's a really interesting take. I like that a lot because I think it happened, at least for me, I know when I'm on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram, see a lot of the similar ideas coming from several different people. And I feel like you hit that right on the head. Like when it's like that confirmation for you to take that next step, whatever the advice or whatever it is that may be said, to do exactly what they're saying to do. And it's definitely scary. This is only my 5th podcast. So like I'm in the very, very early stages of getting going and finding what works.
One of the reasons I said yes.
So,
yeah,
I appreciate you hopping on.
Part of Thrive on Life's mission is to help other mission-based people, brands, and businesses thrive. So I was looking at when you reached out how you were getting started and who your target was. And one of the biggest goals I always have is to help other people get to their next step, to ignite that flame. So whether you're on 500, none of that matters. Just keep going. And anybody in the podcast world, I just say, get to 100. Don't worry about anything else. As well as people have done that. There's tons of people that have been doing this. Pick their brain on what they would have done differently. And if you just do that and then ask for feedback, whether it's podcasts or anything else, just like we're talking, you're going to get ahead. So once you're 5 in, ask people that are 50 or 100 or 500 in on episode 6, what could you do better? And if you ask them, they're going to tell you, and then you take some of the advice, leave some of the advice, and you're just going to keep rolling after that. Kudos to you for even starting that. That's
absolutely. Hard. No, I love that. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It's been in the back of my mind for a really long time, and I've been timid to do it just because it's scary to get on here and share your ideas, and you don't know what people are always going to think or say about what you say. And so I think, yeah, definitely the first podcast was super intimidating. I feel like each one that I record gets a little bit easier to talk and share your ideas freely. Yeah, man. So I guess just going back to what you said, you were saying, like, obviously taking advice from people. So, or someone like me or anyone who wants to start a podcast, wants to get into social media or start on their entrepreneurial journey. What do you feel like is the most important thing when starting? Or if you like come across any kind of obstacle, what was that obstacle and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, going back to what you said, it's scary to start, but you have to have a reframe of your mindset of something that's more scary. And what's more scary than starting something is getting to your deathbed and wished you had started something. That I have way bigger fears around I'm not reaching my potential than I do of if I start this thing, XYZ is going to happen. So when you want to start things, best advice I would ever give anybody is it doesn't matter what you start. It matters how you finish. And again, outside of podcasting, people would agree with this, whether it's in business, in life, in fitness, the first rep doesn't matter. That 1000th rep doesn't matter. None of that matters unless you understand where are you going in the long run for those reps. So when you're talking about a podcast, if you're going to start a podcast with the expectation that you're going to have the next biggest podcast in the world, is that really the right purpose for getting into the podcast? Or should you start a podcast to become a better communicator, to build better relationships, to have better conversations, to learn? There's a difference in purpose there. And that purpose is what's going to drive you, not to start the thing, but to finish the thing. And it's one of the reasons that every single week, like I've never missed an episode because my purpose has never been, let me look at my downloads every single week. And of course that adds into the mix of, I want to get better and I want to get more downloads to get my guests' stories out there to more people. But all I really care about at the end of the day is, am I getting better at the craft? Am I having better conversations? Am I providing a better experience for the person on the other end that I'm conversing with? And if I can look back and say from 0 to 50, I maybe grade myself as a D, and then from 50 to 100, a C, and then 100 and beyond, C plus, and then I just keep getting better and better, then I'm on to something. Then maybe I deserve to set an expectation of, okay, I'm going to invest a little money. I'm going to invest more time, more energy into this thing, and I'm going to turn it into a business, or I'm going to turn it into something that's my career. Prior to that, any advice I would have with people is like, how long do you want to do it? Why do you want to do it? And that's going to propel you forward each and every day. Because if you don't have that purpose, you're just going to get a week, a month, a couple months into it, and then you're just going to fall off, and it'll be just another project that you just started and go by the wayside.
Yeah. No, be honest, that's what happened. It was last year at the beginning of the year that I was going to do a podcast all by myself. I was just going to record episodes, just to share my thoughts. And yeah, I got 2-3 months in and I just really, exactly like you said, I didn't really have a purpose. I was just getting on, I was chatting about things. I ran out of topics, and then that was that. And so this go around, I feel like just getting people involved and having guests, not only are you able to have better conversations and really be able to share cool stories, but I feel like on the other end, it keeps you a lot more accountable. And I think like you were saying, just the feeling that you get every single time that you hop on a podcast, like it's super fun. It like gets me going, at least it gets me excited. And definitely taking a different approach this time around, I feel like has really helped. I know we're only on episode 5, but like you said, the purpose of this podcast is a lot more than just sharing my ideas and thoughts. It's really being able to help others who may be struggling to find their passion or their career, find that purpose and be able to get a head start in life. So I guess with that being, I know I told you the whole purpose of the podcast is helping kids who are coming out of high school, who really don't know what they want to do with their life, find that purpose, find their passion and get a head start in their career. So for you, come out of high school, did you think that this was what you were going to do, or like how did this journey evolve
Not
over
even
time?
close. Yeah, not even
No.
not even a thought, which is good. We shouldn't go into the world wanting
Right.
to know exactly how it's going to pan out. It takes all the enjoyment and the fun out of it. It's funny because when my wife and I, we had another house here in Austin, Texas. And when we were moving from that house to our new home, I stumbled upon an old newspaper where I was in college. I was like a scholar athlete for a week or something when I played college soccer. And it asked me, where do I envision my future, like 10 years down the road? So I think I was 20 or 21 at the time. So I'm 10 years down the road now. So when I read this and it said a bunch of nothing, and then I would be like an engineering manager at some type of corporation. So I went to school for engineering. That wasn't my response. I had said that to the person interviewing me, but that wasn't what I really wanted to be or who I really wanted to be. The problem was I didn't know who I really wanted to be and why I wanted to be that person. I just said whatever response sounded good and then moved on to the next question.
Yeah.
If you would have asked me, I love sports and athletics and learning things and stocks and other things way more than being an engineering manager. I don't even know why I said that. So somebody that's listening to this, I would want to speed that up for you of knowing what to actually respond when you have that question. Where do you want to be in 10 years? The thing is, I do have clarity on who I want to be in 10 years from now because I've started sifting through that question. But at 18 years old, if you had asked me that, I didn't even know how to ask those questions. I just responded in a way that made me seem cool or made me seem respectable to adults, or however that contextually you wrap that up so that other people feel you're some type of way, meaning you are basically leaning into wanting to be liked. And in terms of where I'm at today, it took a lot of me pretending to be somebody I wasn't. And then eventually the pain got to a point where I couldn't show up as this character anymore. I had to lean into who I wanted to be and why I wanted to be that person. So that kind of shifted as I got into my 20s and then now my 30s.
Gotcha. No, that's super interesting because I feel like I did almost the same thing coming out of high school and through just like wanting to portray to everyone else. Oh yeah, no, I got life figured out. I know what I want to be, and putting up these walls of being like, oh yeah, smart dude. I know what I'm doing. I know what I want in life, even though on the inside, it might not really be what you want. So no, I think that's a really good way to internalize things is like, are you really doing this for you? Or are you doing it for everyone else? And asking yourself that question. And when you're able to look kind of 10 years down the road, if being an engineer is like what everyone else wants you to be, is that really what's going to make you happy or not? Or taking another route that may be a little less pleasing to everyone else?
Don't be realistic.
Happiness.
That's what I had to learn. Like everyone always told me, be realistic. But I wanted to change the world. deep down. The people that change the world aren't realistic. So you have to like
Yeah,
break away.
it's true. No, yeah. I feel like all the successful people that I've met in my life, they're a little bit different. They're a little bit weird, right? Not this perfect, I don't know how I want to say it, but they're not just this perfect whatever person, but yeah, they're different and everyone knows it and they're not afraid to show that. And so it's super important if you do want to change the world and you have these big goals, things you want to accomplish in your life, that you have to at one point break away from the normal
Well,
or just being that normal person that
look
everyone
on
kind
that
of
thread, like
expects you to be.
picking your mentors and picking who you look up to is one of the most vital things in the world to any young person. I, for so long, took advice
Mhm.
from people that lived a life I didn't want to live. Why was I doing that? For instance, if I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I have no entrepreneurs in my family, why would I listen to them about entrepreneurship? They don't know. Or if I want to be a
Yeah.
podcaster and I want to go down a path of podcasting in a way that's my way, I need to pick who I'm following and who I'm looking up to differently than somebody that goes down a path of podcasting in a different way that I don't want to go down. So you fall into this trap of competing at times. So picking your friends and picking your mentors and who you look up to is almost one of the biggest keys to being successful at anything. Because if you start looking up to people that haven't lived the life that you're trying to live, they're not going to be able to help you. And you're just going to go down a path again that isn't your path. And the path that is your path, like you don't know every step along the way. Like things come at you and then you just take one step at a time.
Yeah.
And that's what trips people up. They want the blueprint. So they go to those mentors and they go to those people and they say, what's the blueprint to this life? But the reality is anybody that is willing to give you a blueprint is selling you into fakeness, a facade. The best mentors will say, I don't know. They will say, it depends. They will say, if I was in your shoes, maybe I would go about it XYZ. They don't just go, here's exactly what I would do, when I would do it, go do it. And we're taught the exact opposite. You go to school, it's grade 1 through 12. Here's what you should do. Here's what you should study. Here's who you should hang out with. Here's the jobs that are coming on campus that you should apply for. And everyone's just like soaking it up. Yeah, this is what we should do with our lives. And then we wonder when they're in their mid-20s, they pick their heads up for the first time, make a paycheck from a boss that I don't even like, from a company that I'm not even passionate about. And I'm supposed to do this for 40 more years. This can't be right.
Right. Yeah. No kidding, dude. I think it's super important for you to find those mentors in life. And I guess my biggest question for you is how do you find those mentors? Because if you don't have them within your circle, it can be super hard because going out and meet new people, it can be tough. It can be challenging, especially if you're an introvert. So for you to find people within the industry or doing something that you are passionate about, what do you think that first step would be?
You don't find mentors, they find you. Repeat that to yourself over and over again. Anybody that wants to be mentored needs to be a good mentee. Repeat that too. You have to do things if you want to be mentored. You have to put yourself out there. You have to build something. You have to be passionate. You have to show up when it's hard. And you have to prove that over and over again. Any mentor that's worth their salt doesn't want to hang around people that they're going to tell one thing or give advice one day and then never see that person again, or tell that person, be vulnerable with that person. They don't take it into consideration. They do the exact opposite. They don't want to be around people like that. So the only way that you really find the best people to lean into you is you need to lean into yourself first and prove that you can do some stuff. And then out of the woodworks, you're going to find people that are willing to help and they love your story and they love what you're working on. And they're willing to just mentor you because they see something in you that you might not even see in yourself. But you don't get that if you're just sitting in your house doing nothing or sitting behind a screen.
Interesting. No, I love that. And I feel like so many people nowadays, like you were saying before, they just want everything spoon fed to them because that's the way it's been their entire life. Like you show up, you go to school, they give you assignments, you get rewarded for getting good grade, and then yeah, they put those jobs in front of you and tell you this is what you should do, and you do it. Um, but yeah, being able to dig a little bit deeper and finding what really makes you passionate and what brings you joy on a day-to-day basis is so important. I can't stress that enough for my own life. Like just being able to enjoy each and every single day is a blessing. And no, that's really cool. Taking that first step, being a bit vulnerable at first to be able to find those people who are willing and able to mentor you to become what you want to become. I think that's great, man. So super cool. So I know we're coming up on time. We have a little bit left, but I did want to I had a couple more questions for you as far
Feel free to
as
ask away.
what
I
was
got
your
time,
first
so
job?
yeah.
You got time? Okay, cool. Sounds good. So I was curious, what was your first job that you can remember,
How do you
whether it was in
define
high school
job?
or out of high
How are
school
we
or
defining job
whatever?
here?
Getting paid. Your first paying.
First, I was an entrepreneur when I was a little kid. I didn't even know it. First money I was making was
No.
always just hustling, like cutting grass, shoveling snow, babysitting, tutoring. I actually didn't have I don't even know what it's called when you have a part-time job. Like you have W-2 when it's full-time, but what is it when you're like part-time working at a fast food place or
Were you a
yeah, I don't,
contractor, like a
yeah, maybe
1099?
that's what it is when you're part-time. I don't know because it's all, you still fill out paperwork and stuff and
I'm
get
not
cake
exactly
stubs.
sure.
But like I worked at some of my first jobs was Hollister. I worked there when I turned 18. I
Okay,
felt like I had needed a job. That's why I asked you what the definition was. I already had enough money saved up. I didn't even need to work really,
gotcha.
but I just thought I needed to look a certain way. So I worked at Hollister for 3 weeks. And then when they yelled at me for folding clothes wrong, I walked out and never went back. And then I got a job at Panera and I enjoyed that because I liked Panera. So I just got to eat Panera and serve sandwiches and soups all day. And then the
Nice.
next job was the job that I had on and off through college, which was being a busboy at a country club. And I liked that one because it was flex, it was cash in my pocket, and it was easy for someone like me. Like it's an environment where you show up, you work hard, you get paid, and just it's not real crazy or out of the ordinary, meaning like when I was at Hollister, like you're working with so many different types of people. And if they have a bad day and they rub you the wrong way, like it's just miserable versus when I was at the country club, it was knew what I was working for, good people. If I showed up and I worked hard, it was worth it. Those jobs, the
Right.
variety of those jobs taught me what I wanted later on in life. And it's all about the people and who you're around in any given moment. And if there's advice I have for other people out there that are looking for jobs, again, it just goes back to what are you passionate about? If I was a teen in today's world, I'd probably be looking to make money through technology and media. I was making videos when we didn't have phones really until I was a senior in high school that had video capability, but we had these weird camcorder things that we were making videos on and YouTube wasn't a thing yet. So I envision if I would live in today's world, that's what I would have tried to do, like worked with companies on this stuff rather than going to work at a local spot like I did. And I'm not saying that
Yeah.
that's wrong to do. There's just a lot of options today. So find something that you really enjoy and get obsessed with it.
Yeah, for sure. No, I love that. With those jobs, obviously you said folding the clothes wrong. I can't imagine that was too pleasing to hear. So much, I guess you walked out on that job specifically, but what do you think was your biggest takeaway from doing those monotonous jobs that maybe didn't take the most effort, but I don't know, just what was that takeaway that you learned from all the different jobs, whether it's growing up or out of high school?
People, literally, you just learn that the best places have leaders that get to know their people and they respect their people no matter what their age or demographic. I remember at Panera, one of the bosses got caught basically grading us poorly for cleaning up, but he was caught on camera like dirtying the place at the end of the day. It's like, why is this incentive to write us up? I don't understand. And then at Hollister, getting yelled at when they didn't train me. They were just like, here's your job, hold clothes, say hi to people. There you go. That was like my first day. So I was like, cool, like just do my job, get my paycheck, get the hell out of here. And then one day, some lady who maybe she was getting graded on how we were folding the clothes. And instead of just taking me to the side and being like, has anyone shown you this? Starting with a question rather than scolding me, she wouldn't have had to go hire a new employee now because I left. Like that, people just don't have this courtesy, I would say. As long as you have that, and I'm not saying that it's easy. When you're a manager, it's very tough. It's very tough, especially in the part-time environment. But you know what you're going to get if you're an asshole. If you're just nice and you're kind to people and you're a good person, you're going to get a lot further. So in the jobs that I took that were early on, I saw that the operations that were doing really well, their managers and the people that were leading took the time of day to get to know the people that were working, quote unquote, for them. And that's how you tell whether you should work somewhere if you're younger, is just your managers treat you. And if they treat you poorly right away, get the hell out of there. That's what I would say. Go find somewhere where you're going to learn and they're going to teach you how to lead.
Love that. No, it's really good. Fortunately enough, I never really worked with bad managers going through, like my high school jobs and post high school. I did umpire when I was younger, and dude, that was something. Just dealing with parents yelling and screaming at you with their 8-year-old or 9-year-old out there playing, dude. Like, holy crap, this is insane. Like, it was just crazy to me how caught up in their kids' world they were. And I don't know, I thought I did a decent job. But the fact that they would get so pissed and yell and blame me for however their son was performing was ridiculous. And I did umpiring for a couple years. It was like 2 or 3 years through high school, just like on weekends, I'd go and do that. But I couldn't agree more. The people and how they treat you, it's so important. And you want to be able to be in an environment where you're respected and you can have those quality conversations to be able to learn and grow from. Like you said, if she was able to have just asked that simple question, hey, did anyone ever teach you how to fold a t-shirt? No? Okay, cool. This is how you do it. Boom. That problem could have been solved. You walk away, you're still an employee. They don't have to worry about it, just like you said. Yeah, I think that's super important, just being able to treat everyone that you come in contact with.
And let me be clear, I would go into these environments like I didn't demand respect. I just wanted to be treated like a solid person. And that was it. I was just like, my first job, just want to be treated as one should treat somebody, which is treat them how you want to be treated. So I want to be clear, like,
exactly.
I'm sure there's a lot of out there where people are demanding respect. I want to raise up the ranks and be respected as the leader right from day one. That's not how I wasn't raised that way. And I don't want it to come off like that. I want it to be like, I got a job and I got multiple jobs and I worked hard and I stayed in my lane most of the times. And the only times that I had conflicts was in those cases where someone would treat me a certain way that I didn't deserve. Like just because they were having something happen to them so just be very wary of that when you're in high school and when you're a young professional. People will take advantage of you, and make sure you stand up for yourself.
Love it. Yeah, cool, man. Well, this is my last question then. So looking back on your high school self and where you are today, what would be your one piece of advice that you would give your younger self?
Do more things that were outside of the norm. Sign up for things that someone would say, why are you signing up for that? I learned in college and later on that there were so many crossover skills that were helpful that I never would have pieced together younger in my life. Like, I think now I never would have signed up for theater, like when I was in high school. That just what, like, you were an athlete or you were in theater, right? There's no crossover
Yeah.
there. But now that I'm in media, theater
No,
would have
yeah.
been a really good skill, or debate class. I'm really good at debating. That's why I got in the podcast. But I never learned the art form or in an environment where it's structured. And I had access to that in high school and in college, but I chose not to do it. So different things that you are provided in high school that as adults, it's much harder. Like you have to do it and pay for it. And
Yeah.
you already have so much on your plate. Another one that comes to mind is comedy and in improv, things like that I can think of that would be very useful for me right now. But I just put my nose up when I was younger. I was like, I'm an athlete. This is what I do. Everything else is just not for me. I was too closed-minded. So open your mind up to doing other things and putting yourself in environments where you're going to learn crossover skills, because 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the road, you're going to be very thankful that you did that.
I couldn't agree more. I was the same way. I played baseball, football in high school, and like you can just form this group of friends. And if you go anywhere outside of that, like you're looked at weird. They're like, dude, why are you doing that? What the hell? And so definitely agree with you that taking those risks or signing up for things that maybe you wouldn't normally can definitely pay off in the long run, because you never know what you're going to get into. And I agree as well. Debate would have been great. Theater would have been great. I would have learned so many different things that I feel like would be applicable to what I'm doing now, but I just never, I don't know if it wasn't the interest or if it was afraid of being looked upon differently from my peers. And no, I absolutely love that. Take risks and don't be afraid to be
Make
the different,
make a decision
different
for
person, I
one.
guess.
And what I mean by that is don't make decisions based on your friends. Make the decision for yourself. And don't worry about the rest. I think the other piece of advice when you're talking about this stuff is like those friends, like most of my friends from high school, they're off doing so many different things, or the acquaintances in high school. No one's like still in the loop of, dude, why are you doing that? People grow up. So when you're younger, if you're the first to grow up and just be like, I'm making decisions for one person and it's me, and I know that these other skills are going to help, it gets very easy to just block the noise out of other people, because those people, they're not going to be around 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. If they're still making comments to you like that, you're just not going to interact with them anymore. So the faster that you can be the one to lead and grow up, the better you're going to be in the long run.
I love that. Oh, that's great. Awesome, man. I think that's it for me. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I appreciate you hopping on and just joining me today and having these conversations. I think it's super important that kids are getting this knowledge and just seeing different conversations and insights on what they want to do when they do graduate, because it can definitely be a tough time. I know there's a lot of different expectations from whether it's your parents or your peers or just others in general. And so being able to have insight and finding mentors, like you mentioned before, is so important for someone, anyone really, but specifically just coming out of high school when you're really trying to find out what you want for yourself in the long term. CJ, thanks again. And
Thank
I
you.
hope you have a good one. Thanks again for joining us today on the Nurturist Pod. Hopefully you found some of this content insightful. If you did, make sure to follow, subscribe, and send it to one of your friends. We're also going to be posting this on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's Spotify or Apple. We got you covered. And we're going to be building out our community in Discord. So make sure to join us there as well. Until next time, thanks.